Well, here we are at Ngakawau. It's a coal loading out facility for Stockton, and you'll see in the background there the bin or the hoppers going up the hill on the cableway. I can't see it in the viewer here, but hopefully you can see it on the screen. The facility here brings the coal down off the Stockton hill, and that's where the mine is, down to here, a facility that loads out the coal via road or rail, mostly by rail, onto wagons that were actually built by Hillside Workshops a number of years ago by New Zealand Railways. Kiwi Rail now own it. This facility here at Stockton is owned by Solid Energy, which is a government owned company. Unfortunately, this present government, national, has pushed Solid Energy in previous years to develop systems and that were away from just coal mining, like here at Stockton. I come from Southland, place Ojai Nightcaps. Ojai is a very good Solid Energy mine. It's had low-grade sulphur coal processing for over 100 years. It's on the market, the same as this here at Ngakawau and the Stockton mine, all because Solid Energy developed other processes like biodiesel, which is probably a good idea, but are they a fuel company or a coal company? I would have thought coal was their core business, and if they kept their eye on the business, they probably would be still doing quite successfully. They tell us that the problem here at Stockton is that the price of coking coal has dropped drastically and made it uneconomical. Yes, maybe it's uneconomical at the high volumes they were shifting, but if they cut their volumes back, the supply goes down, the price goes up, and hey presto, they back making a good dollar. You don't have to be ripping the mountain to pieces uneconomically. You can cut back to a level where it's sustainable, and this facility was built 20 odd years ago, I presume. It's had a long life up till now. It's got a huge future to carry on if the government wishes, but the government probably doesn't wish that, because the government wishes it to be sold off to one of their private friends, associates. Now, what brought Solid Energy to this level is a process they developed at Matara, which was where they set up a briquetting plant, and they bought up thousands of hectares of good dairy farmland at high prices to set up a lignite process that was going to convert lignite coal to urea, 3 million tonnes of urea, and a byproduct of that also was going to be diesel. So instead of getting oil out of the ground like we've got in Southland, they were going to turn cheap coal into these two processes. But in the meantime, they built a briquetting plant which cost us taxpayers $30 million, alongside an Australian company which between Solid Energy and this Australian company, they processed or developed the briquetting plant, which developed the process where they could turn cheap lignite coal into briquettes. And these process is now not happening in Matara. It ran for probably 5-6 months, produced a very little amount of coal briquettes to trial the market, and what's happened now is the process is being sold by this Australian company to Malaysia and the USA. So I'm just curious to know, politicians out there that are not national, that are part of the New Zealand government but the opposition, I would like to know how much Solid Energy owns in this Australian company that's actually got the rights to this ligniting process. Because if our government, Solid Energy, has got quite good shares in it, they should be quite making some good money out of this process, and it'll be an ongoing process, so it's not going to disappear. And places like Malaysia and America shift a lot more coal, dig a lot more coal than we do, and obviously we've got a lot of poor quality lignite that they could be processing into something more economical. I challenge the politicians also. Holcim here at Westport have closed down their cement works, and they're closing down a process in Auckland, or they've set up a loading facility in Auckland and Timaru to import cement. Timaru's going to import 30,000 tonne of cement for Christchurch and South Island use, obviously. I want to know why Holcim didn't carry on with their Oamaru plant that they were going to build there. At Oamaru there is a huge big area of limestone, and coal. There's plenty of coal here in Westport, plenty of coal in Southland. Could have been brought up to Western at Oamaru. It's on. There's a rail siding there. There used to be a railway line there originally, way back in the early days. There used to be lime taken out of there by rail. So I challenge the government and national opposition governments to tell us why Holcim haven't been encouraged to develop that facility, and why are we importing all this bloody cement when New Zealand's got this huge, great big rebuild. Why aren't we using New Zealand products? Coal, lime, electricity, we've got it all here. We need jobs. The government needs taxes. Can't make taxes out of importing made up products from overseas. You can make more taxes out of processing it in New Zealand, digging coal, digging lime, all the industries that go with it. Goffenheimer, or Goffcat they call themselves now, looking after their heavy machinery, Komatsu, Hitachi. There's lots of overseas companies that can be still making a lot of money out of New Zealand, but by servicing and selling their products in New Zealand. I just challenge this country to stand up against these governments. Both governments, Labour and National, have driven us to these states of disrepair and broken down, worn down towns. What's going to happen in Westport when the coal industry gets wound right down? There's a lot of well-paid jobs here at present, and we can't afford to lose all this. I challenge you to stand up against the government in the next election. Get rid of National, and if we get Labour in there, make sure that Winston Peters, if he's there, that he doesn't stifle everything. We need to get this country going better than it ever has been. We've got all the raw materials. We've got the capabilities of growing good food. So New Zealand should be the best country in the world. We've got a huge big resource of oil off the south basin of New Zealand, around Stewart Island and areas like that. We've got everything we need. We should be strong and domestic manufacturing should be strong. We should be self-sufficient. We shouldn't have to import a lot of things that we do. We should be manufacturing in New Zealand like we used to, creating thousands of jobs. Presently there's 150, 160,000 unemployed. That's ridiculous. Come on, New Zealand, stand up and turn this country around, make it better. Well, that's me, Carl Barkley, here at Ngakawau Coal Loading Facility, Solid Energy, New Zealand. Cheery, bye.